History often repeats itself when we don't learn from it, and it seems to me like our president has never set foot in a history class before. Donald Trump's immigration policies are not only harsh, but dangerous, both to his nation, but especially to the immigrants taking shelter in it. As someone who's passionate about politics and human rights, I've educated myself on a number of U.S. matters, particularly this one, for quite some time. I'll be going over the three main points as follows. I'll define why exactly our president's policies are a threat to our nation, the humanitarian dangers our federal government creates by putting these policies into effect, along with the economic consequences that follow President Trump's tyrannical approach to immigration. Now that we have an understanding of today's topic, let's discuss our first point. So President Trump's cutthroat immigration policies are unjust and have created more harm within the nation than good. As a result, tension and distrust run high within communities between people and law enforcement. Trump has also conducted large-scale raids through the assistance of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, more commonly known as ICE. Immigrants and citizens alike, these raids have led to communities of people of color building an unhealthy awareness of local law enforcement. Because of this, these targeted populations are less likely to report crime, cooperate with police, and go to work for fear of being detained. Donald Trump's merciless approach to immigration also shows no remorse in jailing families and children in inhumane conditions. The Trump administration is infamous for treating immigrants, families, and individuals alike as criminals no matter their circumstances. In fact, the Guardian Sing reported on a family of three that were detained in Karnes County, Texas for 3 weeks in March. The family described their time detained as being in a state of maximum shock because they didn't know what would happen to them. One can also make the compelling argument that Donald Trump's unjust immigration laws are contradictory to the foundation this nation is built on. The U.S. has built its cities and infrastructures on the backs of foreign laborers since before the writing of the Constitution. From indigenous genocide to slavery to the railroads to farm workers, our federal government has both abused its minorities and been on the wrong side of its own history for far too long. Now that we have a concrete idea of the dangerous consequences these policies have in our country, I would like to dive further into the dangers our president's policies and methods have on a humanitarian level. His order to remove immigrants expeditiously without due process or the legal protections that are owed is not only unconstitutional, but also creates unsafe conditions and reinforces wrongful persecutions. As we mentioned earlier, the mental and physical implications of detention can be detrimental. According to the American Immigration Lawyers Association, immigration detention centers act as a hotspot for a variety of crimes such as abuse, sexual assault, and murders. Singh also cites a joint letter to the Trump administration from several of the nation's leading pediatric and healthcare groups. The letter voices the concerns that family detention has raised and calls for a cease in detaining families altogether. The letter specifies that even short periods of detention can cause psychological trauma and long-term mental health risks. The letter also notes that significant behavioral changes in children who brave detention follow, including decreased eating, self-injurious behavior, and aggression. Detained immigrants have also been denied due process, a fundamental principle of fairness in legal proceedings supposed to be afforded to all. In an extreme instance, Donald Trump has put into effect the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to immediately deport immigrants without due process who are suspected of being members of the TDA, a Venezuelan gang. According to Ebright from the Brennan Center for Justice, the Alien Enemies Act is a wartime law that allows the president to detain and deport people of an enemy nation while both bypassing due process and solely using the individual's foreign origin or citizenship as basis for detainment. The act's risky and immoral nature is due to its originally intended use during times of war and fear of espionage, which can be cited by the three other only times this act was utilized: the War of 1812 and both World Wars. While there doesn't seem to be a viable reason to exercise the act in this moment, Trump has deemed the use of this authority necessary by employing a flimsy argument that there is a nationwide TDA invasion on U.S. territory. Because of this, there is significant controversy of such a preemptive use of an extreme authority, as all 261 alleged TDA members have been deported without the chance to be represented in court. The instated immigration policy not only endangers refugees seeking asylum, but also racially profiles U.S. citizens that merely fit the ideal immigrant description. One of the New York Magazine staff editors, Danner, recently reported on a case in which two U.S.-born citizen children, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old brother with stage 4 cancer, were sent alongside their mother on her deportation flight to Honduras. The plot becomes even more sadistic when it was discovered that the children were deported without access to an attorney nor the 4-year-old's medication. While government officials reassured news outlets that it was the mother's decision to board the flight with her children, more details surfaced revealing that the decision was never consented to, nor did the mother sign any of the required legal documents necessary to bring her children with her, according to NBC News' Gamboa, Sesson, and Ainsley. Since we have a clear understanding of the consequences that these laws have on a humanitarian level, we'll now discuss how the economy is negatively affected as well. Donald Trump has wrongfully justified his cutthroat immigration policies by accusing immigrants of stealing jobs and money from U.S. tax-paying citizens, thus hurting the economy. For example, during a campaign rally early November last year, the Washington Post has cited Donald Trump claiming that migrants coming in illegally have taken African American jobs. One of the many inferences that I personally made from this remark is the insensitivity that Trump must possess to make such a baseless and ignorant comment. The fallacies that he uses during this particular speech are a very racist and demeaning way to say that the African American population occupy a majority of the nation's inferior, minimal prerequisite jobs. Trump has also claimed that immigrants damage the economy by avoiding taxes. Despite this claim, the IRS rarely makes it known that foreign workers who are illegal immigrants are subject to U.S. taxes in spite of their legal status. Davis, Guzman, and Cipher from the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy also found that not only do immigrants pay taxes, but their taxes significantly boost the economy as well. Proportionally, undocumented immigrants pay higher tax rates than the top 1% of households within their respective state. In addition, over a third of their tax dollars go to pay In addition, over a third of their tax dollars that these workers pay fund programs that these workers are otherwise not entitled to, such as Social Security. Immigrants also boost the economy by creating jobs in spite of President Trump's assertions. According to a study by Dezikis from MIT News, per capita, immigrants are 80% more likely to become business founders than U.S. citizens. Not only do immigrants create jobs by founding these firms, the study also found that on average, these businesses have more employees compared to businesses created by native-born U.S. citizens. Now that we've covered all the harmful aspects of Trump administration's immigration policy we'll recap on what we talked about today. First, I clarified why President Trump's immigration policies are harmful to our nation, the unconstitutional methods the federal government uses to reinforce Trump's law. Lastly, we also talked about why immigrants aren't detrimental to the economy like the president says, but instead beneficial to it. The current instated immigration policy is a dangerous threat to immigrants and the nation alike. So, the time for neutrality has come and passed. There's no more room for compliance. Challenge the immoral and challenge your president. Thank you.